You know what? Go ahead and give $5 to whoever made that trailer. That was pretty awesome. Little $5 raise today.
$5 raise.
Yeah. Take it from me. You guys did a good job on that one. I mean, I love the globe.
It's your Christmas bonus.
Christmas bonus. You're about to be like Christmas Vacation National Lampoons right there, dude. He gets the like $5 Christmas bonus, and he's like expecting $20K to build his pool. He already put the $10K deposit. Oh, man, that is one of my favorites. Christmas classic, as well as the trail classic for the PGS. My name is Evan Rayner and William Newberry. Rain Day. Gormizer a little late on the introductions, but right on time for the standings. Let's take a look at what we've got in the PGS today. And for all of you watching on all of the platforms, I hope you're seated, comfortable, got your beverage, maybe you got a snack, are excited to watch Authority, Five Gods, Ryder, and Wolfpack begin their start in what will be a tremendously impactful league for them. I think SCA, Gore, and love to get your thoughts, is the region that hasn't had land success. But in many ways, that means the bait is still there. It means the prize is still in front of their eyes, and everyone's trying to claim it.
And this is something we'd kind of mentioned with, I want to say, like the format change, but this is going to be perfect for this region specifically because not only are you now playing each other all the time, but you're not playing twice a month competitively. You're playing constantly against these teams. So if you get better, they get better. If they get better, you get better. Like, you're always getting this practice, so it's always kind of this push and pull of just rising talent, I guess, overall throughout the regions.
Certainly is. Well, let's take a look at the maps for set number 1. We've got 2 sets today, and that's it. It's only SEA today. So Southeast Asia will be the only PGS broadcast on Thursdays. Usually we will have our patch notes on Thursdays later on. We'll have some other things that potentially go on. Map 1 is going to be Jaguar Falls. You saw some of the bands here. Wolfpack starting into 1.4. It'll be also interesting, Gore, to take a look at the take SEA has had on 1.4.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. This is one of the regions that, like, 9 times out of 10, every time we came here, I expected to see Eevee. Eevee did get some changes, so I'm wondering if that's still going to be something that's, like, high priority, or if she's just not going to be seen at all.
I think the question, too, is how much does Torvald start to impact these bans and these picks? We saw him kind of get sprinkled at yesterday where Kanga had something like a sub-6-minute win, but we also saw throughout the regions him get picked, get banned, but not necessarily consistently be a top 2 ban or top 2 pick. It depended on the flavor. And now I think we're seeing maybe Ryder have that expectation that Torvald is somebody that deserves to be banned alongside the Khan, alongside the Mako.
And I think a lot of it is how well he can be controlled now versus how well he can also get out of hand. It kind of depends. Where's Leon overall? Because she's someone who you can guarantee is going to go wrecker. You know you can start popping those bubbles, which is going to make his effect on the game much less impactful. We saw him, I think, twice yesterday. Once where it was ridiculous. What he is enabling was just non-stop death for the other team.
Yeah.
And then the other game, he pretty much didn't exist.
And if you don't know, I mean, a lot of the time with this Andraxis, so deadly. I love Wolfpack's triple DPS. This is pretty much the standard triple DPS. You have a Cassie, you have an Andraxis, you have 2 flankers and or 2 flankers and a damage dealer, or 2 damage dealers and a flanker, and one of them being a blaster that can give you that AoE presence on the point. Ryder, on the other hand, they take the Zen, which can do it himself. Definitely one of the best carries in Paladins, with Leon, who has some of the best stats in Paladins as far as a damage dealer, and 2 front lines to be able to try and battle it out. I'm really excited to see these two teams who have so much history in Southeast Asia come to a head here today at the start of the PGS.
Pretty much playing each other, I mean, at this point, for a year, at least, if not longer, with the way things have been going. And that's, you know, just looking at the PGS, not even going before that when they've been able to practice. These teams have been going forever. And I feel like the only one I actually don't recognize from SEA is Authority, but it feels more like they got sponsored, so I just have to see who's on the team with them. But as of right now, these guys have been all around. I feel like they've changed a little bit. Dam's Essay, though, is definitely one to be looking at for the Zen.
Absolutely. Skrilly, Dam's Essay, these are guys that we've seen, as well as Sacred Asura and Creams. 2 members of both of these teams that have kind of been veterans in the SEA region, going head-to-head now. Dam's Essay trying to lead the charge, and he's going to hit a very nice shot of that Yomi swing. The problem is it's Earthen Guard, so it doesn't get much damage, only 425, and the first blood goes to Cream. Skrilly gonna follow up right after and find the Androxus, and that's Dam's Essay, and now he's got an Aura in a corner gore. This looks bad for the Stone Warden.
And that's exactly the kind of setup you want. You immediately go forward. I don't know if he intended for the body block or if he was just trying to get a better position, but either way, his team was waiting on him. There's going to be a nice shield, a nice little bubble as well coming down from Furia to give him full health. And even though Terminus dies almost immediately, they have full control.
And now, it may not be the typical Terminus loadout, and we can take a look at that, 99%, and it looks like it will work out the way for Ryder. But he is going Decimation. We have seen this. Necromantic Might is the key to this loadout. And Devastation is also something that helps. It works for him. Forsaken, it follows cards that really work for Terminus and I think are going to be staples and have been staples. But Devastation and Necromantic Might, those 2 cards giving him sustain, but also just giving him the access to those Calamity Blasts, as he has a talent that now allows those Calamity Blasts to do 100 more damage per hit from 250 now to 350.
And if you have never been on the receiving end of that, it might not sound like a big change. Like 100 damage usually, like you glance at it, but I mean, that's where blast shot changes have come and like brought Cassie in or out. Is that 100 damage swing.
You're right.
Those 100 damage, especially since it's per shot, it will destroy you. I always call it shotgun Terminus because if he gets in your face and you get hit by all 4, you will die. There is no escaping that.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty impressive what he's able to do. A lot of these Terminus players, I think, have started to adapt to the meta, which is a little faster, and you need to have your front lines be able to contend, and there it is. Gets hit by all 5, it looks like. Incredible, the amount that he's able to charge up with just a little bit. Gets that on the recharge every single time. The Shatterfall is going to be stopped, so he has that escape if he does need it. And it's not enough to take Niffy down, but he gets 80% of his health with just his right clicks.
I mean, this is where you start looking more towards Skrilly, because if Skrilly's in the right position with Terminus every single time, that is a kill. That is a combo kill with 1 shot coming down. All he has to do is play cleanup crew. Unfortunately, you also have to make sure that doesn't happen. You can't have a Bomb King come through and get a triple kill, which is relatively difficult to accomplish. You can't just stop him.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're correct, Gore. The positioning of Skrilly needs to be a little bit better, although Skrilly playing more patiently. As you can see, on a 9 streak, I do like when damage dealers say that my life is worth something. The longer I'm up on the field, hey, maybe it's 400 damage. Maybe it's 1,000. Even if I'm not dying, though, that damage is still being counted. You do no damage while you're dead. So the ability to be able to just stay consistent, even if it's not too much, you're not being aggressive, not getting the kill, but you are impacting the fight, turning things in your favor with 28 seconds left. Ryder now approaching their 2nd attempt to push this through.
And Knife here, so far, it was relatively low. I think he was actually 3rd to bottom, just right above the healers, and only the healers on the damage charts. But this is like the best spot for Bomb King outside of the capture point, because everyone has to come through one of 2 narrow corridors, or one of 3 narrow corridors. And either way, you're going to be able to lock them down with a bomb.
And this is why the triple DPS is such a valuable component in Paladins for a draft. You have the Genos with the Luminary, and Bomb King is hitting for 1,035, but that's not the only person you have to deal with. He's a tanky lad, but he also is able to do so much damage, and that just leaves Cassie, that just leaves Androxus to buy time, and to really help to finish these kills, or at least put them in a position where Bomb King can throw 1 bomb and say, see you later.
And I like the way Knife is playing, and it's one thing that there's, I want to say, multiple styles of Bomb King, But one of the ones that I think is like the basics to getting to the point where you can play all of those different styles for your team is very simply like you just left click, right click, left click, right click. Like you just have to focus, where is this bomb going? How long do I have? Where's the detonation? Get the feel for the arc. And when you have something like that, that's when you start seeing, you know, the PPL plays where it's like, I'm hitting people around corners for some reason. Like, I'm able to just throw this bomb across the map and detonate it and find, like, 300 damage onto 4 people. Whatever it happens. You just have to start somewhere. And right now, Knife is just kind of showcasing, I think, exactly that base play.
Wow, so lucky he has that Luminary coming through from Genos. He did get hit by the Leon. So what ends up happening is he does take 90% anti-heal, but he still gets a little bit through. And now that anti-heal is gone off, but he does not have a mark yet. King's New Cloak, that's what we're talking about with Bomb King. But also King's Court, level 4. That's going to help him actually in just sustaining throughout this fight. Even when Genos is not there with the Astral Mark, he's going to get 60 health per detonation. And again, if you look at those KDAs, he is not really trying to find the most damage in the game. He's trying to get the killing blows. Beautiful Inflame to counter out the King Bomb.
And now bombs being thrown around, but he's not sure who exactly to target. He's not in a good spot, even being able to get all of that healing. It's not enough to push him through all of that. Now you can see the rest of the team Muck starting to fall down. Damzessa does go a little bit too far because Skrilly is now on a triple kill, looking for a Quadra. If he can find it, the dash is going to be good.
Oh, and he gets it, Skrilly, with the Quadra, the delayed Quadra, but nonetheless takes 4 down in the round. 75% and counting for Ryder. And they're easy riding here on the point. No motorcycles in hand, but who needs it when you can slide faster than anyone could travel with that Manifest Destiny. Let's actually take a look at what Skrilly is running in this loadout core, maybe break this down.
I mean, Manifest Destiny, exactly the one you had just mentioned. I think this is the key to Leon at this point, just because her dash without Manifest Destiny doesn't feel as impactful. You get that range, you can get in, get out as fast as possible, but also 30% faster, so you're getting there a little bit more. Highborn is another card that I think a lot of Leons run, where it's just your focus is you already have good damage. You don't really need to augment anything there, but your mobility was relatively low. This loadout enhances that to the point where even if you get caught out sometimes, you're still mostly safe.
And you know, what's great about Swift Jade, which we don't really see run without Emerald's Eagle, which allows her to, for every time she hits somebody with Grace, reduce the cooldown of Valor, which is her right click. And then when every time she uses Valor, what Swift Jade does, it reduces the cooldown of Grace, which is her slide. And so using them without each other actually creates this interesting dynamic, but it works really well because any value that you get, 1, 2, 3 people, that's a second and a half off at level 3. I mean, that's up to 4.5 seconds on a cooldown that's relatively short in general. What we do see Skrilly doing with this loadout that's different, though, is the amount of elimination reduction cooldown that he's got. He's not really relying on that very much.
And that's something that I feel is different, and that's very player-based, right? Like, how well do you think you're going to be able to do? And there are certain moments where, like right now, he's not looking at a lot of kills, even though he's been picking up quite a few throughout the game. He's playing a little bit more patiently, so it's like, you know what? I'll just rely on cooldowns naturally, as opposed to hoping I get that 50% or whatever percentage you happen to run.
Damzessa and Darkness Rama doing a great job of just holding this down, but I think it's best they back off. The Terminus is here, but you know, you're fighting a 3v5. You may just want to try to poke, and that's the benefit of being able to aggress here. He knows that he's going to be able to poke. The Billow just pushes them through that corridor, and that's what he's looking for. He gets the heal back, and it's Mux over in the corner, the front line, trying to hold down that right side, but now he knows the Cassie needs to get got. He can't quite get her, but he does force her back, and now that has collapsed what was a stolid defense for the rest of Wolfpack. They are falling, and that's the front line in the triple DPS. No one else to save them. Some of these flanks, some of these damage dealers got to get there, and they can't. Push successful for Ryder. They grab the objective and the push, and they are at game point here.
That was really good target acquisition, not just from Dams, but from the entire team. Like, you could tell he stopped looking at Cassie when she was low enough that he knew someone else could pick her up, and you see Darkness Rama picking them up almost immediately after that. He turns his attention to the front line, to the flanks. Like, where else do I need to put my initial damage? Burst them down to like half, then someone else can take over while I keep them distracted.
And this is just what we were talking about again. It's always good to kind of take a look at some of these champions more in depth and how they're played at a high level. But the real difference here is you'll see Inheritance run very low, and Swift Jade actually included. And also Highborn just included to that level 3. I'm not a big fan of 3% movement speed. I kind of look at where's my value for cards, and I compare them to the items. I say, Nimble, what's that going to get me? And if it's not close to that, I kind of hesitate on that in my loadouts if there are other options. So personally, I'd run Inheritance at a higher level, but to each his own. It's really doing very well in this game to stay relevant. Misses that Valor, though, but he does get the stun on the Pyre Strike from Furia, and he still cannot find the kill. That's going to be Knife making it out alive.
And just coming around, and again, Skrilly's been playing a lot more patiently, so it's not surprising to me that he falls back instead of jumps in, because then you get moments like this. You do have that aggression somewhere else. Screams, goes down, and now you're in a position to just continue the roll.
Absolutely, and now the slide, a 6-second cooldown. If he gets the Valor, he'll be able to take a 1.5 seconds off of that as well. He's got the slide again, but Knife comes back to haunt him. He finds the kill on the Skrilly, and what will that do? Only 63%, and Inara is back. They've lost one of their main cauterized appliers and damage dealers, but a big fireball from Lillian is going to make this a little bit easier of a hold here. Game could be over. It's up to Wolfpack to make some noise.
As of right now, though, a lot of squishy members trying and just break in here. Sailor immediately gets taken down on the side. Mux does whatever he can, but you can only stay alive as a lone Inara for so long. Everyone else on Wolfpack is just way too far back.
And this is something that is extremely odd here. We just see a dominating, kind of quick game in SEA.
And that's something
That's
think
not usual.
Comes more out of just the fact that they've been, I want to say, practicing a lot more. I mean, a lot of these guys either come back, they have LAN experience, even though their LAN hasn't gone the way they want to, they don't get any wins. You still pick up a lot either watching, playing, scrimming against these guys that are here. So you bring that back to your region, it spreads through, and you get a little bit better at every single map.
Well, hopefully people are just, taking 1.4 as an opportunity to have a clean slate. And whatever happened in the past is the past. It's a new meta. Supports are in a different rhythm. And hopefully they've caught a vibe that allows them to get this win. One more game to go before Ryder closes it down. Let's take a look at the maps for game number 2 as we have those updated for you all. It is going to be Bright Marsh.
Honestly, if you're looking at a map that you want to have like a repeat performance and you can't just play the same map twice, Bright Marsh is probably the best place to go after Jag Falls because it's very similar feel. The push is a little different in shape and length, but it's still something that as far as the point fight goes, you're going to be playing it very similarly. You're still going to be looking towards a similar composition as well. So Ryder potentially going for that Furia and looking for the double front line again.
And it's going to be the same bands. Exactly the same bands here for both teams. Torvald, Khan, Makoa, Trogos. Not allowed, but we'll see the Willow here. We often see her in Bright Marsh in these smaller maps. And notably, it's going to be the Cassie taken actually from Wolfpack here.
I actually kind of like that depending on what they give up. And it's one of those things like it's that toss and turn of do we want Cassie, do we want Leon? Like which one's going to do it? Cassie, I think on this map, there's a couple places where it's a little further range, so maybe you can go get a little extra damage there. But Leon, again, that just cauterize inherently built in there. The anti-heal she has from Death and Taxes is just too good to pass up.
I mean, you also talk about Fernando. There's 2 appliers of anti-heal with Bran on Fernando giving you that 75%, and then Leon with the 90%. Ryder grabbed the Cassie, which also has kinetics, so that's 75% there, but everyone else doesn't really have those cards to be able to allow that, but who needs it when you've got a Willow? That's going to shut down quite a lot, and they have the Furia on their side, so if they were interested in running Solar Blessing, that is still available on a map like this.
Being able to grab Ruckus as well. Someone who I feel like we haven't seen a lot, but again, you're looking at how big is the pool. I think Ruckus and Ashe were available. Which one do you want to go for? Ashe on this map isn't necessarily the best. I feel like Ruckus has a little bit more of an advantage, but when it comes down to it, having Willow on your side, it doesn't really matter who your second front line is. You're going to have just that distinct advantage because 90% sounds great, but 100% still better. I'm
actually really curious to see if Wolfpack have the gall to choose the new Ripened Gourd Legendary. It's really impactful when it works. And on Bright Marsh, there's so much space you can cover. It could be so detrimental, even just getting an extra gourd. Does Maldamba have enough base healing, though? Are we really saying as a meta, as a community, that Spirit's Chosen is the only way to go because he doesn't have enough healing outside of that to compete? I think that's really more of the conversation here if things are still not tilting his way.
And I'm kind of curious as to how that's going to go because, again, like you mentioned, having multiple gourds, while the effects doesn't stack, you cover a lot of area. If you get 3 or 4 gourds, you can draw a line across the point or just cover the entire zone, the room, for Bright Marsh to the point where no one is going to be out of healing. You could also be looking towards, Wakona's Wrath, where it's now got increased stun time as well as increased snake flight, which is going to be difficult for some people, I think, to get used to. But once you have that on lock, I'm wondering if we're going to maybe see a style of Maldamba that comes out as like a utility stunner.
It's possible. It is possible. Curious to see what that was. Do you recall what the legendary was?
Spirit's Chosen.
It was Spirit's Chosen.
He's running the standard.
Running the standard. Dead Zone's going to be up here. This could be a dead bonk. Oh, she misses. That was a crucial miscalculation there. Can't even find the Maldamba. I mean, this is really just Dam's SA letting so many golden opportunities go. Could have been an end of a point fight right there, but Sacred Asura does finally fall. Cream's forced to be back. Muck's playing the Terminus instead of the Inara this time, but Ryder just held control of this objective so well.
We switched over to Fernando, and I was very confused for a second because I was like, why is he just not attacking? Like, you should just be, like, kill this Terminus that's right in front of you. And it is on that team. He was just sitting there. It's a very awkward point when you get pushed out that hard that early on and then have to fight back into it. You can see Cream's already, I mean, half health lowering.
Yeah.
And he's not even in the engagement. This is just Dams getting poked.
Yeah, he's having such an awkward time, Cream's getting back in there. And if only Damzesse knew how close he was to death, and Skrilly comes in at the perfect time. To me, I'm just seeing Wolfpack not really be on the same page as much as Ryder. They're controlling this map so well with Willow spacing. Damzesse is a problem and needs to be dealt with. Otherwise, Ryder going to take this objective and all the other ones.
And it feels like the team, when it comes down to it, Ryder, especially from last game and what it seems like in this game, their communication is just what is on top right now. That is the thing that I think is giving them that next level. Because someone gets low, and whether or not Dams can actually get it, you see the kill come through. And that's the same thing that was happening at the end of the last game. They just have this control all around where they're like, we can lock you down. We know where you're trying to go, where you're running. If you're low, we can still pick up the kill. Even right there, Lily and Skrilly just remove them.
Lillian having a good show on the Stigala today. Muck's trying to do his best, but it's just been tough out here for a Terminus. Tough out here for a Rockman.
You were talking about earlier how these two teams have like a very long history against each other. I just got some massive deja vu. I feel like I've seen very similar compositions in the same kind of fight in the exact same manner on this map before from this region. And it's one of those things that you can tell, I want to say, like the history of a team just based on how are they approaching like the payload fight.
One of the things that's been so interesting to see, though, Gore, is just, to me, the difference in how SCA have really taken a dominant performance here and turned it into an even more dominant one on map 2. So much of the story around this region and competitive play is between how often we see one team be dominant and the next game the other team is completely as dominant. No one able to close out sets. And for me, this is just great to see Ryder really taking week 1 by the handles.
A lot that would be chosen either by draft or by map. You could tell it was like the players were pretty much all on equal ground. But now it definitely is starting to feel, and this is something we had said about this region, you always want someone. You want at least one team that pulls ahead of the pack.
Absolutely.
Because everyone has somewhere to go. That's the finish line now. You need to catch up and at least match that team.
Woo! Knife almost went out. He had 5 health. It was almost over for him. Mux, he's going to come back alive, and everyone's prepared. He's not going to get any damage off of that, and he's going to die, it looks like, very, very shortly. But he gets a gourd. He gets some spirits chosen, healing. Mending spirits doing everything they can to put this Rockman back together, and he's going to get some heals off of the Decimation Blast Calamity. Could it save his life here? It has. Moldamba, what a great job. Sacred Asura keeping his front line alive, and this will mean that the stabilization is possible, but it is not guaranteed, as there are still 5 members of Ryder close to this objective.
And the person you have to get rid of the most right now in overtime in order to make it go down is going to be this Inara. Damage reduction plus healing being dumped into her. It's going to be difficult, and you see the kills coming through. Skrilly, Damzesse, Darkness even putting his name on the line just to be able to pick up a little bit. And once Sacred Asura goes down, that's the bow. And
it was Skrilly who stayed alive as well and made the impact in the back line. And him having just that kinetics, having the blast shot, the AoE pressure, making it harder for Moldamba in those clutch moments to find heals. And Knife just, boy oh boy, hits his head on there, but he gives the angle up to find Sacred Asura. So important. Tumble for another one, then Somersault as well at level 2. Really good value for this. You'll see similar cards like this and other characters that at level 2 will only get you 20% of your health, so you'll have to bump that to level 3 or 4 to have it be a realistic opportunity for you to actually dodge again before you die. Cassie, one of the better card champions, I think, with a lot of flexibility there.
And I think this is actually like a perfect loadout when it comes down to it, right? Quiver, you just want a flavor card. Like, that is literally just say, okay, this one's going to be, for 1 point, the best utility I can get. 7 shots, that's actually a good chunk of damage more for a Cassie.
It is.
But then, you know, kinetics, you have to run that at 5 if you want it to be as impactful as it can be.
Yeah.
But being able to run Tumble, being able to run Somersault, and have those, like, resets ready for you.
And you know, Sacred Asura makes a really good mistake, and that Somersault right there, unfortunately, he has to reload at that time. But he did create the space he needed, and Fernando, one of the only champions that just makes that such a punishing engagement. But it doesn't really matter, because look at this. I mean, Damzesse, meanwhile, in the other side of the map, is just killing everybody.
I think there's one thing. I remember when Maeve was announced and was being showcased for patch notes, and everyone heard her ult and was like, "Man, that is like terrifying."
Who, Maeve?
For Maeve, yeah. When everyone heard the good night, and they're like, "This is terrifying." The only other thing I think in this game that could give you that chill is hearing "Let's reach for the sky," because once Willow is up there, you're not going to be able to take her down unless you are well prepared for it. And even then, you have to have like Leon prepared, ready. You have to only hit Willow now.
You know, it's a good thing. It's a good question. We comparing the scariest ult lines to here. I don't know. I mean,
if you're a frontline, it's probably Behold the Dragon's Fury.
Yeah, I think that would probably get a lot of people into a pretty scary state right there. I think there are some good ones, and we'll have to have that conversation a little bit later. I'll table it for now. 1 minute and 30 for Ryder to complete this push and end this set. What incredible performance from them. Dolan 10 off the Ruckus. Takes a little bit of that chain reaction, but the only reaction that happens as a result of that is Lilian finding 2 kills. Dolan finding another as he makes it out alive. And Sager to Sir, you can bet your bottom dollar this Snake is going back to base. Dread Serpent just to delay the inevitable. And I'm not even sure he does have the reanimate, but Inara with a wall for her team. Wow, big play there.
And that's one of those moments where it was that was just selfless, like at that moment, being able to throw that up. And of course, it's not going to make any difference. I mean, look at Muck's health bar. He just came back to life. The healing has to be dumped into him in order to find anything, but you lose the knife. You're losing so much pressure everywhere else. There's still 45 seconds on the clock. You're dropping everything. That's 2 ults, 3 ults that have been used in just the last couple seconds.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I think there's this weird payload thing where if you're a tall champion, like I think maybe the only one who's small enough might be like a Barrack to actually use the payload as a line of sight blocker for the Terminus ultimate. But the Terminus ult, it generates so high on his character model that most champions cannot actually stand behind a payload and block it. But when you run away, it will do less damage. And I just see so many champions not actually move away from the ult. And instead of taking 4K, take 3K. You're fine. It's not overtime. You can move away from the point for a second. And I think that might have made the difference there because she was barely hanging alive. And now, look at what happened. It's no overtime, it's defense successful, and we got ourselves a game still.
Being able to come through, but Wolfpack used a lot of their assets toward the end. I do think right now, Dread Serpent
what a fire strike.
Are looking like they're going to come up, and that is that moment. Sailor, if you hit that shot, get the kill, Willow has no impact, right? That falls apart. Maybe your team gets in there. Being able to do that is the reason Willow's so devastating in the air.
This is an interesting loadout as well. We've seen Sprite Fly be the card that most people have started to run at level 4 and 5 outside of Just Believe and Twilight. And that is the damage reduction after Flutter. It's about 20-25%. Yeah. But Flora is another health card. It's just a health card. It bumps her up to 2,400. Now, as a damage dealer in this class, one of the actual higher health numbers you can actually have, Bomb King being at the highest, I believe, with that 2,450 at this point after some of his recent nerfs. But still getting up there.
And it's weird to me, actually, to see Twilight at level 5. Normally, I see people run a bunch of level 4s. Like, it's 4 level 4 cards more for Willow normally than having anything pushed up to that extra level. But just having that extra little bit of time on that cooldown gives you this ability to get that extra damage out, to get that extra control
My
out.
God, man. I mean, Gore, as you made that 1 point, it's 69% and counting. And, you know, Wolfpack haven't been able to get their stuff together. It's weird. As a Wolfpack, you would expect coordination, cohesion within the group, but at this point, it's looking more like a bunch of lone wolves than a pack who are working together. That's Ryder riding all over them, taking the victory and cementing themselves with a lead here in set number 1 of week 1.
And a relatively quick set for them as well,
Very
being able
fast.
to pick that up. And again, it's one of those things, these two teams normally, and you were talking about it earlier, it's like one will go up 2-0, then they'll tie 2-2, then it'll go 3-3, and then you hit the 20-minute mark, and we're looking at the last round, and then it'll still last a little longer.
Yeah.
Being able to start picking it up and speeding that up to the point where you're having a 12-minute game is clean for Ryder.
Pretty impressive here. And to me, it's just a question of what will happen in set number 2 because as Ryder looks so dominant, we do have teams that aren't on the top end of the spectrum in SCA. Ryder and Wolfpack notably are the better teams as far as history would tell us. So let's take a look at the standings and see exactly where they place now and who you can expect to see coming up in the next few minutes. It's Ryder taking the win over Wolfpack, who will take an L, and Five Gods and Authority SEA. I would assume because Wolfpack has a bit of a jumbled up roster that maybe some of those members are on Five Gods and Authority SEA. So we may still see some highly competitive veteran type drafts and games coming up in this next set.
And I'm really excited to see it because when it comes down to it, again, Ryder, Five Gods, Wolfpack, those have been names that have been sitting around here. Of course, team members bouncing back and forth between wherever they happen to be. But Authority is the one that kind of catches me off guard because I'm not sure who is on that. Like, I see the name and I'm thinking, okay, well, we just cast them on Europe, but they're not playing in SEA this time. It's going to be a different roster. I'm curious if they're going to have that, like you said, that veteranship kind of leading them.
Astral Authority is what I think of.
Every single time I say Authority, that's the first thing.
I feel like, isn't that the team that Cuss and those guys, G2, currently used to be a while ago? I keep thinking, Nick and I were trying to think about what they were when they were in the LAN where they got to the semifinals, and I believe it was not the Masters LAN, it was the LAN before that, and they were using Mega Potion Pip for the first time. And it was here, back over there where our studio wasn't changed. So I think Astral Authority was the name of that team when they had done that. So interesting. It all comes back together. You know, those things you like are at the tip of your tongue, and then you just forget it, so it'll come back to me. It's weird that that came back to me as a result of Southeast Asia.
What I want now is one team to be Astral, and then the other team to be Authority, and then they have to play each other, and then it's going to get really confusing.
Like it's
that's going to mess me up.
I feel like that's got to be a 3-3 tie every single game.
time.
Yeah, and then just a game crash, and then we'll have to restart. All right, let's head over to the maps. Get that out of here. I don't want any game crashes. Frog Isle will be map number 1. I mean, who am I kidding? Nobody wants to see that. Authority will ban Jag, and Five Gods will ban Timber Mill. You joked about that, but they actually did it.
I feel like we saw a Timber Mill or something outlandish yesterday as well. Like, we've seen Fish Market bans, which I still feel like Fish Market makes sense to me because a lot of teams are just like, dude, just get it out of here. I don't want to deal with it, especially for teams where they know it's like, that's our weakness.
I mean, best of 3, you definitely ban your weakness because you're probably not going to go to any... I mean, the chances of somebody picking Timber Mill in this best of like 3, I don't know, man. It seems really low, but if you know you really just don't want to play that map, just cut the possibility off. I don't mind that.
And I feel like this is a region that actually would. Like, if any region was going to, SEA doesn't mind going to Timber Mill, picking up snipers, and kind of testing the waters and figuring out what's going to go on there.
I think the Drogo's bans are the most intriguing to me. I think on Frog Isle, Drogo's definitely has a stronger place than most. You see Sniper sometimes played here, and the Barrack early, alongside the Victor, makes me think that there's something up Authority's sleeves. That's a relatively early frontline grab, especially since Makoa is still on the table.
Yeah, and that's what I'm kind of looking around for is like, Furia goes through. Okay, Victor goes through. Barrack gets picked up before Makoa. Now, Fernando, I mean, Fernando I could see, right? That one makes sense to me. But the fact that he's still on the table, both the team's last set did go for their double frontline, so I'm wondering if, I mean, maybe we'll go back and what we saw a couple days ago, pick Makoa.
Yeah, I mean, so is Genos. Genos is also available, and, you know, they're running Cassie, Barrack, and Victor, which is a clear, you know, potential for a triple DPS with, like, a DPS frontline. The Strix and the Makoa at the end, and maybe Authority are hoping or expecting that this Strix might come out, and that's where we see the Inara, the double front line, to just say, listen, we want to at least be able to match you with the Makoa, and we want to be able to have someone sustainable enough with the Moldamba to be able to withstand a couple of headshots from the Strix, because we know we don't have much to deal with it except to combat it from range. Will the Victor and the Cassie be enough, or will the Snipers once again rule Frog Isle in game number 1 of our second set today in Southeast Asia?
And I'll be curious to see if we're going to have burst mode. I mean, we've been talking about it all week. I have not seen a single burst mode so far with the way things have gone. A lot of people who are running Victor are still running Shrapnel. But the big thing...
There was one. You might not have been on that set.
I might not have been on this set.
Yeah.
And he does have it. I mean, you can hear it. You don't even need to look at it. You can just hear the burst coming through. So he's going to be firing 3-round bursts instead. It's going to have more damage, a little bit more accuracy, as well as a little bit of range, or at least the fall off is going to be extended a little bit.
Think of it as a completely different weapon, and that's what happens. It's been adjusted to be a burst rifle that can have impact from range and allow Zed and Victor players to be extremely deadly in a short period of time. It feels good. It's a great weapon, and he's already practicing his grenade throws there using some of my favorite skins as well. Typical from Rumpelstiltskin, which is going to be my favorite name ever to say in Paladins Global Series history. A great story. One of my favorite fables and just stories as well of Rumpelstiltskin.
The last minute he switched over to shrapnel, and I guess it makes sense, but
wow,
I'm still a little upset.
So he was just messing around and having fun.
He was just sitting in the spawn, shooting whatever he could, but now he does have the impact of the grenade. And again, this is the conversation we were having yesterday, which is, do you go for the new rifle that, even though it feels great and actually does a lot of damage, doesn't really get changed by any cards, or do you look for that grenade?
And I think the thing is, you're right. I mean, there's so many cards that augment the grenade and not many that augment the rifle, but who cares if you miss your grenade like that, unfortunately. He's got the XL mag, he's got fire in the hole, and he's also got speed low. So as he keeps getting kills, he's going to keep refunding that. Grenadier will be the core component of this. 60% for Five Gods as they are pushing it back, and he's just trying to wade into that, but the heal from Furia is enough. He doesn't have any anti-heal on this grenade, so the difference between a Drogoz here is to follow the sit, and that's the second grenade we've seen Zed really just miss on. He's going to spray. He knows it's not where he wants it to be.
I don't know if I've always glanced over it, but I don't feel like I've ever seen XL mag, or at least if I have, it's not often. It doesn't come up as much, and it's just those 6 extra shots. I mean, you can see, especially when you're shooting like this, it doesn't make too big a difference. He's reloading at 6 because that's typically where you would have to reload for 0.
Wow, and a big inflame there, and Rumpelstiltskin finds the kill. He's here to take your firstborn child, and he's also here to take your double kills and the objective. Rumpelstiltskin helping to secure the first point for Five Gods.
And I like the angles he's holding right there. He's going to be able to find that shot. You do have Fernando tagging in there as well, but it's just going to be a big pickup. I mean, that's one healer off the board. There's going to be a flashbang coming out relatively early, and now the walking head running right at it. That's Barrett. Walking head.
Mortal ready. 2 minutes left. Authority trying to continue to, I think, at least have some type of authority in this game. But have yet to really establish it. Picking shrapnel and missing several of your grenades is not going to be the way to do it. And Zed knows that. But again, just trying to play the patient game from range. They just are a little bit outgunned in round 1, allowing the Makoa to go through 10th. Mind-boggling. Especially on Frog Island.
This is probably one of the most awkward spots to have to hold, specifically when you're against a Strix and something like Leon. Just because there's so many weird angles, there is going to be the pull off by Makoa. And I actually have seen you can throw a wall under your feet potentially and save yourself, but you have to have insanely fast reflexes. I've seen it happen once, and it was impressive.
I love Atrexia's just patience there, just aims for the headshot. Woo! I mean, is that 4? I think he killed all 4. He killed 4 people out of the 5, and the one that he didn't kill got hooked off the ledge, thanks to that ever elusive 10th pick.
The days of Makoa have fallen. He's either banned or he's last pick. He doesn't get that first pick priority anymore.
They're gonna look back at it like, man, if only we had we could have picked Makoa in this game. Dang.
Nice dome shield, gonna be able to at least eat up some enlightenment damage, and that forces Atrexia back. But as of right now, I mean, there's still burning health bars on the side of Authority.
It's interesting because, you know, Five Gods really looking just a mile ahead in so many different categories for me over Authority. Draft-wise, execution-wise, breakdance-wise as well. I mean, dance moves, you got to give it to, you know, the Makoa, who's just really had so much. And here's that beautiful, beautiful showcase of Snowball, which is what we love to see happen in these high level. And notice the way that he actually strafes. He doesn't try to move his right click. He just kind of moves his body and makes sure that Maldamba, because of his strafe pattern, just comes right back into his crosshair. It's a very small thing, but it allows him to hit that headshot and just easily not get juked out.
I feel like this is a loadout, again, that's kind of more standard. At least Manifest Destiny, always going to be there. Heir to the Throne has been there a lot. Inheritance is going to be run at 20% this time instead of the 10% we saw.
Yeah.
But again, like you had mentioned, still Swift Jade lacking any other, I guess, kind of complement in its card. It's just being run on its own.
Yeah, I mean, no Eagle's Emerald. It used to be kind of the main deck, but I think Manifest Destiny is just taking priority for so many Leon players. And when you actually do it for the first time, you see the impact it has. LKG going to go down, and maybe a little bit aggressive, maybe a little bit overconfident, but look at how close Barrick is to death here. Furia trying to keep Atrexia alive and doing a good job of it at this point. He's got to get the slide, but he's not going to get by Psy Conqueror, who finds the kill onto Atrexia with the help of Zed, who now gets a double. He's landing those grenades just like he wants to. It's a triple kill for Zed, and Authority turn it around.
Sitting now 42-31, but this is the kind of hold that they haven't been able to get pretty much all game. I mean, that entire last round was just constantly being pushed back, constantly being berated. There was nowhere to hide, nowhere that was safe. Now they're finally able to at least establish a defensive line, but the question is, how well is it going to hold up? Barrick, not necessarily known for his health pool, so you're going to have to kill off the other front line to try and equalize this out.
And you know, this Barrick running this Tinkerin style, this is where you would have maybe thought, hey, this is what a Luminary would have been perfect for, to be able to really give him the impact as well as our damage dealers like the Victor. But oh boy, talk about losing team fights when the enemy team has an Inflame. I mean, I've just not really ever seen a team completely counter out a 5-man Inflame from Furia and not, you know, at least on the opposing side, turn it around back in their favor. So that's going to be Authority with that ultimate, taking this point and getting closer to tying the game.
And honestly, putting themselves in a good spot because of that comeback mechanic, the way it worked. They always had Five Gods pressure. There was no point where Five Gods could just kind of patiently take that fight. And that's why you see them rush in so heavily throughout that entire point, is because you leave them alone for a second, they're at 50%. You leave them alone a little longer, they're at 100. So you have to kind of commit all of it. And unfortunately, Makoa has not been connecting with these hooks, and so Victor's just been laying into him.
It's been extremely interesting to see the development of this set, because so far it was Zed who couldn't land a grenade to save his life. Suddenly on a 10 streak, and the momentum of Frog Isle is with him. And that is the thing about Frog Isle. It is such a momentum-based map. We're seeing Side Conqueror and Salmon Time have this impact that it's going to be a 2-2, and this is looking like a clearer, easier push, faster in fact, than Five Gods. It's a tie game.
A lot of the pickup, a lot of headshots, a lot of better, like just better outright grenades coming down from Zed. Because he's just been sitting here, and this is the thing, Victor is one of the highest DPSs in the game, but because it's not burst, you tend to see people, they would shy away from it. That grenade gives that burst, you combine the two, all of a sudden, all you have to do is hit a few headshots throughout that 30-round clip, and you're going to be set. So
Victor, 72,000 damage. I'm looking to continue climbing higher and higher in that regard. 12 streak. Everyone on the side of Authority is looking good, but this time no comeback mechanic. So we'll see if that was for real or if that was just comeback mechanic and then playing off of the momentum of Frog Isle with a lot of high DPS, tanky front lines being supported. It's going to be Fernando back on the objective at first. Zed battling his way, and he spots the Makoa. Alakajus not going to be able to take that route again.
Good grenades. I'm looking for Rumpelstiltskin. Where is he going to be putting these shots? Because he is also the one who notably was not there last round. And it's because of moments like that. You miss a shot, you eat a grenade, you're dead. You can't live through all of that. And your team honestly needs your impact to make that difference.
And this is big. He's actually baited out so much from this Barrick, but he's going to go down and he's going to have to back off. I mean, that is the impact. Barrick also has that movement skill, and he uses the Ancient Rage just to keep control. And he's going to fall here. That was a bad play, because his team abandoned him. If his whole team was going to push, that's one thing, but just the lack of coordination meant that Ancient Rage essentially gets nothing.
And now again, Rumpelstiltskin get taken out. Like, you have a sniper who is getting out-sniped. Even though Atrexia gets one kill, I don't know if it's going to be big enough. I mean, now points tied, comeback mechanic, if it was there for Authority, would already have the point. But because they don't, there's still at least one big fight for Five Gods. They have Inflame, they have a Flashbang, they have a lot to open up a point.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, we need to see something happen here from Atrexia. He was really the key in that first push. He needs to be the key now. And there's the Inflame from Five Gods. Authority looking to try and change this up and keep their momentum strong. And it is the Leoni. It's a huge presence, and that puts Inara into one-shot range. But Salmon Time is going to be the one who cleans up the side of Alzyko. And he's just going to take the turret out. No headshot here. Rumpelstiltskin yet again comes to play. Unauthorized use means he's going to be able to see where she's coming from. And another sniper is going to put LKJ in the position to clean this up. It looks like Five Gods are going to be the five guys who take this objective.
And now with the way things are held, this is the moment. I mean, like you said, you get the turnaround you need. Atrexia starts hitting shots. Rumpelstiltskin, very specifically, starts hitting a lot of these shots. That Inflame essentially got wasted. It kept people alive, it kept people in it, but it just kind of gave a small pushback. It was the plays right afterward that got Five Gods that point. So now 3-2. It's still a rocky start for them on the push, but they've definitely showed that they are here to play.
And man, oh man.
21
streak for Zed, 105,000 damage. That is 32 32,000 damage, 33, excuse me, in that one round. I mean, the impact he has been having, and he's just going to fall off the map. This is because he's going to give a lot of ultimate charge back to an opponent that kills him, and he knows that on the defensive end, that is very, very possible. Doesn't want to give Makoa 2 Ancient Rages in a row.
It looks silly.
I'll see you later.
But that was 100% the right play to make by Victor. It's just, I will never get over seeing someone full health or on a 21 streak, and they just turn around and jump off the map. Like, they just, it feels ridiculous. But like you said, you give away a huge amount of ult charge if you die on a streak like that. So it's better for Zed in that application to lose the streak, lose the numbers, but still have that better play.
Problem was he actually staggered his team. Like, Victor was not involved in that fight whatsoever. He had no line of sight when Wanda died. And so, in many ways, it actually was slightly detrimental. He was not able to capitalize on the Makoa, putting himself out there and landing that hook. And now Makoa has a question. Do you Ancient Rage here? He's obviously got the Shell Shield, and so he could just wait, bide his time, maybe hope that the Fury can give him a little bit of healing, but he knows the Fury is down now. If we take a look at the items, we can start to see what is showing up for these two teams. There's a lot of Havens and Rejuvenates on the side of the front lines, because there's just all direct damage in this game aside from the Victor Shrapnel Grenade.
And being able to detriment the damage coming down from Rumpelstiltskin and Atrexie, I mean, that's part of the reason we're starting to see them have less and less impact. Those Haven 2s, Haven 3s that will come out, it's going to make it just so much harder to get that extra damage. You're going to take 3 shots instead of 2 shots. It's going to be a lot more difficult.
LK Ju, I mean, wasting cooldowns right here. I don't think the shell spin's needed. Just walk around the corner. You now have 13 seconds, and that's the entire time you're going to start this push. You'd love to have your shield. No one was really pressuring you. Missing hooks as well. Just use the range of Makoa. The cannon has very little fall off at this range, so just keep pressuring. Psy Conqueror is falling as well, and so this is where they wanted to go. Slow and steady, and then you can hit the gas pedal because you know Leon is alive. She is ready. That is going to be the enlightenment for Atrexia. He's going to get the Cherish Bubble as well as the Light of Dawn. The turret will fall, and this may be Authority going down. Maldamba still with a 13 streak, but that looks to not be lasting for too much longer as the Inflame keeps him alive. They're going for it.
Dome Shield was dropped, and now it's not going to be around anymore. That health, that shielding, that damage gone for Barrett as the payload creeps ever so close, and Nara doing whatever she can, but unfortunately for her, her health bar is all but gone.
And you know what he did save? You know what he did well? He saved that Ancient Rage for a perfect time. But that is it. He has to win this right now. Zed cannot stay alive any longer, and he will not. This is close, but they may have done it right there because they took out the Furia. Zed has shown up huge, and they have also bought an Ancient Rage. Unless LKG can make the play of time, it seems like Authority have found a way to stabilize.
Atrexie is gone. Shield going to go up. Shield going to go down, along with Makoa.
Incredible.
They keep it 3-3.
Now, this is the SEA I know.
Yeah. And honestly, this feels similar but better at the same time, where it's just like, okay, one team dominated one round, one team dominated the next round, but that last one felt a lot more like, okay, you threw a couple punches, we threw a couple punches, I know what you're trying to do, you know what we're trying to do. It just comes down to who plays better now.
Zed has been playing better than everyone. 18-6, 141,000. He gets the kill onto the Furia, which changes it all. If that healing is there, if that CC is there, it's over. You know, I mean, that is a game over situation, and Zed stops it. He has given himself and his team a chance. One more as the objective starts here. Authority 5 Gods tied up in game 1. It is week 1 of the PGS. And so these two teams testing each other. There's still one more game that needs to be won, despite how this goes for these teams. And Psy Conqueror, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Enlightenment, not going to be enough. That is what Earthengar will do for you, folks. And he stays alive thanks to sweet, sweet damage reduction.
Now falls to the back, going to get healed up, and that is one Inara that is going to haunt you. She's going to come back essentially from the grave and just cause so much trouble, especially with Makoa going in right there. He doesn't have any Haven, so any damage Victor's doing to him is going to be unmitigated. He has the Rejuvenate, but it's not going to be enough for either of the frontliners.
Zed with the spray. What a choice. The Snowman Bomb King skin. I mean, a few months away from Christmas, but I'll take it. 54% and counting here. Authority in an incredible position now to close this one out, and I think Zed has to be your MVP of this game. He started off missing a few of the grenades, but boy, is he landing them now. 93%. Is anyone going to get there? Gore Miser. That's it. Authority. Claim Authority over game number 1.
And a lot of that was, I mean, just kind of slow pressure. Once they got Havens online, they're able to deal with pretty much everybody on the other side at that point. You're seeing Strix do less damage. Atrexia was doing less damage on the Leon. You're taking, again, 2, 3, maybe 4 shots, depending on who's fighting you, to die. And you have so much more time to work with. You're looking at it like, man, I can throw a grenade. I can empty half my clip, throw another grenade. And in that time, you're gone before you've even touched me.
You know, I think the Havens actually worked tantamount for Zed's achievement in this game because of the fact that he was getting so much off of Grenadier and Shrapnel. I mean, that's how his damage was coming, and that's the blast shields, and no one built blast shields. But I think if you're looking at that, if you're finding that the burst is the thing that's killing you or that's putting you in a bad spot, I mean, how often is Victor standing there and just shooting you with his gun and taking away all your health? Most of it is the burst from that weapon. So I think it might have been an adjustment from Five Gods to really look at it. And this is what I like. I don't like the paper. I like playing the game. You go out there, you play a soccer drill or a football drill or wherever you are, and you do the drill, but when the game comes, something else happens. You trip, a guy falls, it's a little slower. And I think when you play the moment, you're like, man, okay, Victor's a Haven dealing champion, but the grenade is the thing that's killing me. And so let me build towards what's actually killing me the most. And I think that might have been an adjustment that would have made Zed's impact a little bit lessened. It still goes the way of Authority, and now Bright Marsh could be the game they close it out.
I have to say kudos to his aim either way, because he was hitting a lot of headshots, so it's one of those moments where it's like, if we go Haven, we'd make that grenade do less. You're taking that initial damage away, but then he's still just pelting you. So it's like, you have to make that trade-off. And I feel like I would have preferred seeing Five Gods potentially trade off, like, okay, you go for blast shields, try to stay through this.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go for Haven.
Absolutely.
So he has to focus one of us with one thing, one of us with the other.
I think the thing is, too, you know that through your experience, right? You're playing and you're like, hey, his grenades are always coming over the ridge, trying to find me where I'm perched up, right? I'm the Leon. I want to fire here. I'm just getting hit with grenades all day and I'm poked out, right? 2 of them, it's, 1,900 health, and I'm out of there. So, or 1,800 health. No, it's 1,900. And so at the end of the day, I think that's where you start to make the call. Like, is it affecting you? Maybe the front line still, they find Havens, but I really do appreciate the way that Authority were able to bounce back, and now the Leon taking on their end, and the Torvald not banned this time. It's a double blaster ban for Five Gods.
I feel like Five Gods might have seen the last set, because Willow got banned out relatively fast in this one with the way things were going. They get Furia, Makoa, Bomb King, and Nara, though. That is a terrifying lineup to have to go up against. But it does kind of depend. I mean, with Leon on the side, again, she's probably one of the best ones well-equipped to deal with Furia. And Grok, this has been one of his maps with some of the changes. I think he could have a lot of prowess here.
I think Grok is just a sleeper. So is Ying. Ying and Grok, I mean, we haven't seen him at all. SCA has not gone to that, but we've seen it in Europe. We've seen it in Oceania. We've seen it all over in the PGS, and we've seen it in console. I mean, I'm surprised that SCA has not touched these champions at all, let alone banned or picked them. And I think Grok, with the Moldamba, is where we're going to see Groks. We're going to see Pips. We're going to see Yings. We're going to see double supports in this meta. That was the first thing that came to me as far as my experience in playing, and what I've seen is that these duo support combinations are going to be wildly more popularized because of some of these changes.
Grok's ult, when it was changed, now allows flight. One of the things I was thinking of throughout like that entirety of it was, what does this really do? Like, it gives him a way to jump over a wall.
Yes.
You could potentially fly up, like there's a Willow and a Drogo's in the air. I need to heal them, so I'm going to ult and fly at them. But Bright Marsh and other maps kind of like this were one that came to mind where if you want to ult but get yourself out of that line of sight, you ult and you fly up, and because the radius is so big, you still heal the point with your ult.
Yeah, true.
And so I'm kind of curious if we're going to see something like that, because I actually think this is the first time I've gotten to see Grok competitively on Bright Marsh since that change.
I also think what's interesting is looking at Rumpelstiltskin going from Sniper to Inara. Strix to Inara, that's a hell of a champion pool. And it's also just maybe showcasing that Five Gods are trying to do something tremendously different from the first set. Will that work out in their favor? I usually don't see it work out in the team's favors that way, but LKG going to start off nicely, finding a kill. On to Wanda. Authority now 4 members, and they have to track down this Androxus, but it seems like they found him.
Going to be able to burst him down as well. Unfortunately, you do see Salmon Time take a lot. Salmon Time. I said it exactly as it's spelled. I also say it so wrong all the time. But either way, he gets caught out by Bomb King, and you're put in this position where Five Gods, I mean, they're still showing some of the strength they had early on in the last game, but you can tell it's nowhere near the same.
Beautiful Wings of Wrath there just to get out of the range of that enlightenment from Zed, who definitely was the problem child on the other side, continues to be so. He doesn't have any Genos Luminary augmenting this. It's just straight up hitting his shots, and Don the Conqueror, or Don Quixote Roger. What a name. Feels like he is no way
allowed to get back onto the objective without taking so much damage that it becomes null and void, since he has forfeited his life to do so. 75% and counting for Authority, trying to close out point 1.
Reversal, going to be able to soak up a little bit of damage, but now everyone knows where you are. They're expecting you, so you don't get that edge up that you had before. Here's going to be Tempest coming out immediately. Ooh, just going to get a little bit of movement speed, not a lot of utility out of it.
I don't think I like him leaving the room. I think I like him staying in the room. He's got Ghost Walk. Can he get it off? No, he can't. Objective 1 goes to 5 gods. Wow, that was really close. I mean, it was such a long point fight. About 2 minutes. That ultimate started coming into play. And when you have a Terminus, that's where you really hope to get that advantage, because point 1, you never have your reanimate unless it goes very long. Still only 71%. So that might have been the game changer, but Psy Conqueror just not able to do it.
And you get caught out in this position. Once that hook comes through, this is the reason Makoa is so strong. You're out of position. You can't do anything about it, especially as Terminus. I mean, even if you have your leap, you really have to hope it's up for you to be able to get out of there. Unfortunately, there, LKG does go up, immediately gets shot down. So a lot, I want to say, of like good plays and misplays coming down from 5 gods.
And he's going to get this kill too. He's not going down here. He's getting healing. He's got the Torvald bubble. Beautiful stuff. And I actually didn't pay attention, but it might have been a Torvald bubble the second he enlightened as well. And, you know, the thing about that is it's on the Torvald to be able to do that, but you're giving that enlightenment 30% more damage. It hits for 1,600. 30% of that is, what, 600? 550, something like that?
Somewhere in there.
So you're hitting over 2K, which actually feels like that's the reason he was able to get the kill. It looked like it was not quite in enlightenment range. So, shout-outs to that interaction.
And going back to the health bars you were talking about earlier, I mean, you were talking about Bomb King having one of the highest. If you're running King's New Cloak, then you get 2450. And that's assuming you have it at level 5, so wherever Bomb King happens to be for this one, he does actually have that at level 5. He's going to be there. Plus King Court's 5, so he's trying to get a lot of healing, a lot of sustain.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you're still looking at, we're going to hit him twice, and then I can ult him and kill him off if we get that bubble in time.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it is an incredibly difficult thing to kill a Bomb King who is getting pocket healed, let alone a Bomb King who has shields or anything of that nature. Luckily, Furia gives both. Light of Dawn. Just that card that really takes her over the edge, in my opinion. But a staple for her nonetheless. It's just the ability in Paladins to have the way healing and, shielding functioning, just that it absorbs a complete shot. So even if that shot is 1,000 damage, that 250 shield will absorb it. It essentially will absorb any amount of damage for, you know, that one period of time, as it does not run over in Paladins.
3, 2.
It is the perfect, I mean, shield, I guess, when it comes down to it. I was trying to think of some analogy, but I was like, I literally thought of an actual shield, which, you know, it's going to take the hits for you up until it breaks. Once it pops, you're going to end up taking a lot more. And as the way things have been going, 5 gods not able to find their push. A lot of their damage feels like it's been on the back of Bomb King, whereas on the other side, again, you're seeing Zed spouting that 9-3.
Yeah. Psy Conqueror's had a rough game, too. Really, really rough. I mean, 0 kills is something you wouldn't want
in 15
on your Terminus. I mean, just 0 kills on any of your front lines is probably not ideal. You want 1 or 2 or 3 at least after round 1 at some point in the round, you know what I mean? But it's not necessarily working out. Rumpelstiltskin and Atrexia both 1 apiece. Healing in the far in lead by the Furia, but also just Zed, just far and away in terms of damage, still leading the charts, whether it's Victor or it's Leon.
You know, both the names that we were saying a lot last game, Rumpelstiltskin and Atrexia, have switched. They both switched from their DPS to the front line, which is, like you said, drastic to go from Sniper to Inara. Still pretty drastic to go from Leon to Makoa. Huge. It's not going to be the most comfortable. That's going to be a double kill, maybe a triple kill here.
And this is what he wants. He wants salmon time, but wow, that Ghost Walk has some extra duration, and that's what will save your life there, folks. That's the reason it works out for him, and he realizes maybe I'm in a danger zone position. Authority know they've got a little bit of time, so they're not actually going to waste any of their ultimates right now. The problem is, will the zone be good enough for 5 gods to not allow them to touch back onto the point? That's the real question here. And there's the Dread Serpent, and I think you're going to find out that Salmon Time and the rest of Authority have the plan in mind to be able to get back to the objective, but still 96, 99, they can't touch 5 gods. Despite all these ultimates used from Authority, control the objective and don't even let them back on the point.
And now you're seeing a lot of missed damage. That's going to be a reversal soaking it up. You're looking for the kill. You're still going to be able to find them. But it was just a little sloppier. 13 streak for Salmon Time. But again, that payload, or at least the point capture, was probably the most important part of that fight. You pop all of your ults, reanimate even comes through, and you don't have anything to show for it.
Honestly, I think one of the bigger things here is just the amount of zoning that we've seen LKJ do so successfully amongst the Bright Marsh kind of contention that
You are not welcome here.
Authority have tried to bring to the table. 5 ultimates in hand, weren't able to get onto the objective. I mean, that is pretty strong. And it all really comes from a Makoa hook, and then it comes from a Cursed Arm in the air. That forces Salmon Time's Ghost Walk. But I will say that even then, he didn't die. I mean, he made it out alive, and so they really just decided to maybe just regroup too far back without having pressure. Wanda on a 12 streak as well. Dread Serpent back up in charge. A minute and 15 seconds left. The Five Gods push continues.
One of the things he said last game, there's a value to having your life. You know, if you're alive, you can deal more damage, you get more healing, all of that stuff. If you're dead, you don't. It's just very simple. But there is also a point where it might be worthwhile putting yourself in a position where you might die if it's going to provide your team a little bit more. I'm noticing there were a couple streaks. I think Salmon Time just ended his. But it was one of those, like, they were sitting up there 12, 13. A lot of players on Authority were alive. They just weren't pressuring anything. They weren't giving up that risk, so they weren't getting any reward.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with that as well. Sometimes you got to give up the safety, go for something here, and really make the big play. That dash is for vision. 30 seconds remaining as the announcer just called out. Salmon Time doing a great job on this Croc of healing. And opting for Maelstrom, misses the shock pulse there, but he'll be back very soon. Misses that one as well. Connects off of that, but he's going to force the Ghost Walk. A little bit of extra duration in his loadout. Oh, but he's lost the access to side. He's got the power siphon up, but can he get there to heal in time? He's going to force himself into the Tempest, and oh, no. He can't save his front line. This is looking bad.
He can fly, so at least he gets away up onto the balcony again, but I mean, again, that's going to be an ult that's down. You can kind of see it as a fourth ability for Grok because it does charge relatively quickly, but even still, it's going to be much slower overall. Still an ult, still going to be unimpactful as of right now. Hasn't had many great ults from what I've seen so far.
I mean, he's got to chill here. Shinju's forcing the healing to go away from the front line, and unfortunately, Rumpelstiltskin goes down. I like the idea that he wants to keep going for the damage, but what he does by not waiting and getting full health there is he allows the healing to be split onto him and to the Furia. So she's got to make the decision. She wants to keep both alive. She's going to give a heal to both, but it just means the Inara cannot sustain, and without that, the overtime ticks away, and this is really what did it. That one moment was enough to really win this point fight for them.
And looking at mobility, right? So you're looking at Through the Warp and Elusive specifically for me, where it's just you're going further with each dash, and you're going to have 40% movement after you finish dashing, let alone the fact that you're healing yourself. So at the beginning of the fight, that doesn't matter as much, but being able to get out of a fight, you're going to be able to set that up. You're just constantly putting yourself in a position where, unless they're looking for you, Authority aren't going to realize that you're already behind them. You're already putting your revolver in their back and pulling the trigger before they recognize that you're available there in the open.
And I think we see Zed take a different approach. He knows exactly what Five Gods are trying to do, and Authority already have 15% of the objective. It's a nice little touch. They just walked in, walked out. They have to play around the Terminus reanimate. And I think what Five Gods don't want to do this time, Gore, is just get themselves out of this fight. They want to make sure they stay around and don't get team wiped.
Oh, beautiful headshot in lineman, not going to connect. Trexia going to get credit for that, but Zed just found himself in a bad spot. He was way too far up. His front line were behind him. And as a Leon, that is just not what you want.
It's just so much from this Androxus who's just biding his time. He's not overcommitting. And it ends up being Zed who can't hold back. And this is where Salmon Time needs to chill. You know, you can't fall back this far and expect to not get completely zoned out. I understand he wants to save his life, but you need something now. 69%, it may not be enough. You have to use your Tempest and get over the top to touch this point. It doesn't matter if you can't get there, and he's trying, but it's going to force a reanimate. It's going to force something. I think Zed is going to sacrifice his life for the overtime. And if they get a kill here, maybe there is a question. He's going to go Swak. He gets a bubble as well. He's going to make it out alive. Still has 10 seconds left. And just get out of combat, buddy. Just heal up. That's the only way it's going to happen. Hyper Beam buying you time. He's out of combat, and now the healing totem will arrive, and they're trying to just feed off these shields, off the healing, but now Torvald has to take a break. I mean, what a tantalizing situation for Five Gods to play out of. And you know what? They've lost a few, and it's Salmon Time who's still here because they just keep baiting them in. And somehow this Grok has done what he needs to do to just totally turn this around.
Psy Conqueror is back. He has died, reanimated, died again, and mounted up. Come back from the base. Unfortunately, he's going to get burned down. You lose some of your healers. Wanda, again, we're looking at someone who has been on high streaks. Wasn't even in line of sight. Wasn't looking at Psy Conqueror. I don't know where your eyes were trying to be, but there was no healing there for the Terminus, and he just got burnt down too quick anyway. So you see Authority once again losing their point.
Can we look at the items here? Because I want to see what's going wrong for Psy. I really do. I mean, no Bulldozer might be the case. I mean, he's going for Cauterize against an Inara, and it's just a weird choice. Why would you do that? Cauterize 1, Bulldozer, get rid of the Treacherous Crown. That's what's hurting you the most. If we look at the KDAs, I'm sure it will tell the story if he's just dying a lot and not really being able to clean things up. 3 and 11. And so with Rumpelstiltskin at 6 and 4, he's just playing out of that Legendary. That's why you see Terminus's go Bulldozer. It just counters Inara so well. Takes away some of her sustain, but you know, he's going to have to think about that most likely next round as Five Gods don't look to be slowing down at all. It is a minute and 37 seconds left, and they are about 80% of the way, and they are going for it. Stun hits 3, Seismic Crash, looking to set up the game.
Now going to be able to pick up 2, now a third, a fourth, looking like it's going to come through. This Torvald cannot run away either. Psy Conqueror,
man,
a little too far to the left.
That is a rough one. I mean, we see Terminus and Brightmarsh get the better end of Inara a lot. And I also think that just when you're going for this Maelstrom Grok, and the way that Wanda was playing, it felt like they didn't have their priorities straight. It didn't feel like either one was prioritizing Psy to keep him alive.
The one moment that stands out to me was actually in that last round. You see Grok leave the point because he's relatively low. It's like, okay, you just stay out of combat for a little bit. Heal up. Torvald's in there. He's doing his thing, keeping overtime. And then Torvald came out. No shield, really low health. And I had been watching the cooldown of the healing totem. I didn't see it come out.
I don't think
anywhere.
he got a heal.
I did not see it come through. And I'm like, why are you not healing the front line that literally is standing right next to you? Like, he came to you because you are a healer.
Yeah. And I think he's thinking, okay, well, I need to go back and stand on the point, otherwise it's over. So I'm going to throw my heal onto the point because otherwise I can't stand there for long. But you have to think that, Torvald, you need to be more communication. Give me a shield. I'll give you the heal. I stand there for a second. You get full health. Then we trade. You recharge on the point. I drop back. I Maelstrom. And then maybe we can make this work. Maybe. But it's super, super rough at that point. I think it's going to go to map 3. It's Authority and Five Gods trading out wins here, and so Stonekeep will decide it all as we head into the picks and bans.
It's a lot of small things throughout all of that just ate away.
It's all the small things.
It felt like all the small things.
Yeah.
I don't remember the next line. I'll go with it. One day it'll come back to me like in like 5 minutes.
Do you really need the next line in that?
No, really you don't.
True care. I think that's like something like that. Somebody knows.
She left me roses by the stairs.
She left me roses by the stairs. Surprises let me know she cares. Say it ain't so, I will not go. Turn the lights off, carry me.
Na, 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 na. That's when you start like guitar.
That's when we go, man. I'm talking. Don't get me on some Yellow Card either. Some Oceans Avenue, dude. Oh my God.
We'll go too deep.
That was
fast.
That was like my 7th grade jam right there. That was hilarious. Makoa and Nara. Bomb King taken for Five Gods. Pretty solid start for them, and I think it's comfortable for 3 players to just be right back on the same champions that they were last round. It is going to be the Androxus and the Torvald and the Maldamba. So 2 champions of the same ilk. Androxus and Strix completely different, though, as we will see that taken away from LK Ju, and I wonder where he will go here. He's most likely going to be this final pick for Five Gods. It's Leon.
Being able to come in with that, I actually like the lineup a lot. I think it's nice to have Inara. You know, she's going to be the point tank. Makoa can do whatever he really needs to in order to set up Bomb King or Leon. You have the anti-heal. You have a couple of bubbles coming from Fury as well as the burst heal. You're going to be pretty comfortable here as Five Gods, whereas on the other side, I mean, you immediately, I want to say, kind of pigeonhole yourself. You go for Strix. He's been good on this map, but you have to perform like crazy for this to work.
Yeah, because, you know, there's not a lot of angles to get out of somebody aggressing onto you, like an Inara, forcing you down to the low ground. Where do you go from there? You're just exposed. You know, there really is no way for, I think, you to combat that the same way a Kinessa would by transporting away, getting another angle. Strix has to walk there, and You can't be very stealthy when there's only about 2 places for you to stand on the map.
And in my mind, unless you are just head over heels better than the other team,
Yeah.
there's not that many places where you go
This is yeah.
when you're pushing a payload either. Like, where are you going to stand?
This is an I'm way better than you draft.
And
Like Andro, Strix right here. It's like I'm going to hit all my headshots, and I'm just going to kill all of them.
unfortunately, that's going to be, well, I think maybe 1 connect, but 2 missed shots immediately after.
And I don't know if I like this position here. I think 5 Gods are taking it a little easy. I would be trying to find some damage onto this Strix. I mean, that Fernando should have a kill here onto the easily poked out Bomb King, and no one has even touched this guy. I'm sitting Makoa or Inara next round to touch this Strix, because at this point, Salmon Time is like, I have not literally had anyone come within 50 feet of me.
And honestly, that's what's opened this up, right? You're missing so many shots at the beginning of the round, it made no difference until right now. He's hit like 5 shots in a row, maybe missed a couple, but being able to get a couple kills. He killed off Furia, he killed off, or helped kill off Makoa, Inara, like pushing them back. Like you said, 5 Gods, they looked a little too relaxed.
I mean, this is
what
Makoa and Bomb King are for. You know, you head to the left side, you bring them through. It's just a Fernando. I mean, either pressure him out, get the shield down, and whoa, Zed. Talk about some sensitivity there. Looking left to right, breaking some necks. And gets caught into the Inara Warders field. Treacherous ground, but not treacherous enough for Rumpelstiltskin, who will pay dearly for this cost. And Zed, he has been a highlight reel for Southeast Asia and this squad of Authority, and he continues to do so on the Androxus today.
And all he needs at this point is just that consistency we saw, but similar to what happened with Victor at the very beginning,
Yeah.
where it was kind of like, well, I'm not hitting as many headshots, my grenades were a little off. You can kind of see him honing in, Zed, like refiguring out, I want to say, the spread of the weapon, finding the headshots, and honestly, just the application. You hit one of those, it changes a lot. That 800 swing is big.
Okay, okay. Zed turning it up, man. Some EDM music in the background. He's putting together a montage. Play some actual Zed in the background. It's gonna look good, baby. Exert Jetto, is this a sub? I don't remember seeing Zergetto in any of these games.
I believe he was in the last one. I think he was actually Torvald. No, not Torvald last map, but I think he was playing last map. I guarantee that. I can't remember what champion he was.
All right. Maybe that's the problem.
Because I remember looking at his name and thinking, I'm never going to say that.
Oh, it might have been the Torvald then. At this point. So much of this conversation has been around some of these frontline players. And, of course, Zed and Trexia. Right now, it's just looking so good for Authority. Again, this is more of like a Frog Isle style where it's a 2-0 push. Looking inevitable here. LKG on the Leon, not able to do much. Salmon Time. Wanda, wow, taking their frustrations from last game out onto this one real quick.
A lot of control, lockdown,
First blood.
early kill coming through was set up over here. That's beautiful. I don't think I've ever seen people line up like that in front of a fireball, but that is like the dream.
Well, I mean,
as Fernando.
Dude, this week, we saw a 12, we saw the all 5.
We saw all 5?
All 5. It wasn't, you weren't on that set either.
Man.
But 1,200.
That's like my dream.
1,287, I think, was the number.
I've hit 4. I have yet to get 5 in a row. But I mean, when you're running Scorch, Brand, and Incinerate, and everyone lines up,
yeah,
like, you hear the angels sing as Fernando, because you're like, this is my moment. Like, this is the one time that guy in the back, whether or not they die, is going to feel this.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Fernando's going to go for it. And, I mean, they send the Makoa, and they don't look to push. It's interesting for me. They're not looking to push to the backside. I mean, you have the Inara, so if you push, you really allow her to cement herself on the objective, and that's what just buys time. You have comeback mechanics, and 5 Gods have created the space, and yet now they're finally just standing onto the point. So this comeback mechanic push is where they need to be. Sai the Conqueror gives up the high ground, and so now you rotate back up. Send Makoa back up to the left side. We know Fernando is down. And start applying pressure onto that Strix. This is a decent point fight already. They've already forced the Fernando away.
With comeback mechanic, though, that's all they need. It's just a little bit of holdback. They've formed a wall without actually having to put it up. There's going to be the seismic crash. It doesn't look like it's going to get a lot out of it. I think 1 stun, if any, coming through from that. And now you're starting to lose members. You've lost 2, you lose 3. That's a double kill right now for Zed, looking for 3, and that's going to force the Agent Rage.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do on that one. This is just Makoa being a Makoa, doing Makoa things. Well, that's also Furia, or excuse me, a Torvald doing Makoa Torvald things, bubbling up what looked to be a dead Maldamba. Wanda finding Atrexia in the process as well, and now 60% and counting. But the great thing about this is they have an objective being the 6th man. They have to stand on that point. It's 99 for 5 gods. Why is Shinju worried too much about that? Using 2 cooldowns to what? Stop them from getting to 86 to 90%? Just hold off, fight. Fight from range. Fernando can't chase you, otherwise he leaves the point. And now at this point, he's just given up so many of his defensive utility options that he's fallen to pieces, and Authority grabbed the objective yet again. Little things really coming to hurt 5 gods' chances here.
Salmon Time, again, relatively untouched that round. I think he did end up falling at one point, but even then, he just comes back. Well, actually, he didn't, even if he just fell back. He's on a 14 streak. He is just sitting in the back, getting a shot here or there, and that's really all he needs to be able to solidify his presence. 1,200 damage every single time one of those connects. On a Furia, on a Bomb King, on a Leon, that makes the biggest difference in them actually being able to fight, engage, or just having to fall back. Accompanying that with the fact that Scorch has been hitting 2-3 members almost every single time, and you're in a perpetual state of like almost dead as 5 gods.
I mean, it's really nice to have the Fernando who, with Scorch, is just able to clean up so much of the fodder that Strix is putting very, very low. It's just really, really simple for him. They're about 1 shot away, and that's all Fernando needs to easily be able to finish something off. So in many ways, he's serving as that fat flanker that a lot of people have kind of touted him to be throughout his career in Paladins, especially when Scorch became a thing. Immortal's still ready, but they're going to bide their time as they just round this push. Probably one of the harder areas to push past in Stone Keep, but looking pretty simple for Authority.
Honestly, once people see the shield, I think Fernando gets written off. It's kind of like, okay, you're the big guy who stands in front, and you just block the damage. You let a Fernando run free, and I'm thinking, you know, Cuss, Cutie, I'm thinking Rubu. That damage output is ridiculous, and you can see he's still, I mean, 15,000 behind a Strix, but still leading the way as far as damage goes just because of where these fireballs are going, where his lance is being fired onto, because that dot is just as impactful.
And you can tell Psy Conqueror really wants to play aggressive. That's why that Terminus game was probably really off for him, and it might have just been something that we see in the pro level where even Envy will say, you know, hey, we've got 2 players like a Rubu and a Tolki who can play a Terminus, and at one point said, you know what, Tolki, your Terminus is better. You got to do the Terminus. Because Terminus is a very difficult front line. It's not the same. It's not kind of cookie cutter as Fernando. Yeah. It's a lot about game sense and hours played. And so at this point, totally different performance from him and totally different performance from Authority. I think they are going to close this one out. Gore, it looks like we've got ourselves the champion of set 2 here, unless Makoa can do something with his Ancient Rage, and he just might be able to, but so much damage is coming through. He's got the reversal. He's going to be able to dash away as well. No Accursed Arm, but he definitely has to find his target. He finds one. Seismic Crash comes down, but Fernando shrugs it off. And the Accursed Arm is ready. It is here. He just wants the 1 kill, but he's not going to get it. He's going to dash up, and he needs to go for it. Fury is his target. Wings of Wrath will clean him up, but Psy Conqueror has the chance to make up for that Terminus, and he finds the kill onto the Inara.
Bomb King forced to jump down just to try and hold on to the defense, but the payload's still moving. He's walking in. No matter what your health bar is, you've got to dive in. That's going to be Makoa back again, but is it going to be enough?
Is it going to be back again like the you know, Backstreet Boys here? Or is it going to be, unfortunately, like some of their recent songs that just haven't quite hit the mark? It seems like that's more the case. We'll leave Millennium on the shelf where it belongs. It's one of the top-selling albums of all time.
I'm glad we have that shelf in here.
I don't care who you are, where you're... Okay, I'm sorry, I'm done. My Backstreet Boys days were big.
Devolved into music as the cast
goes on. Southeast
I feel
Asia,
like that happens all the time.
What are you doing to me? Come on. This isn't right. Don't let a musical guy start getting musical out here. It's been fun. I think, to me, Southeast Asia has definitely improved. They've gotten a lot more energetic and I think more entertaining with some of their gameplay that we've been able to broadcast here. And so, to me, kudos to the entire region for putting in the work. 1.4 has definitely done, I think, a service to them to open things up, to make things more flexible. We haven't seen an Eevee all day. I mean, I'm impressed. I'm surprised. I'm a little sad. They're so well known for that.
Waiting for the
Haven't seen a Ceres all day. I mean, that's impressive. So, a really nice mix-up here in Southeast Asia, and congrats to the 2 teams who were able to take victories today, Authority and Ryder. And then Wolfpack and 5 Gods have unfortunately gone down this week, but Wolfpack and 5 Gods both, got a lot of talent. Next week will be probably just as entertaining.
I'm excited to see how they're going to be going, just because with the way things went, not only today, but throughout all of the regions, there's still, except for the Kanga versus Pantheon matchup where Kanga, did Kanga things, everything's felt relatively close between all of the teams.
Well, we've got CIS tomorrow as well as Latin America, so stay tuned for that in terms of your PGS broadcasts. That will be starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and myself, Gormizer, and Pretty Hair will be here for you to walk you along the action. Can't wait to see you then, but today we are concluded. Thanks for watching, and as always, friends, remember to never give up, never stop gaming. We'll see you all in the realm.
Hey there, subjects. Bomb King here, owner and operator of Bomb King's Cash for Crystals. From August 21st to August 30th, save up to 35% on the crystals. Look at my team of high-powered buyers, ready to take your unwanted cents and turn them into something that makes sense. His name doesn't fit the rhyming scheme, but he's my cousin, and I love him. Crystals aren't the only savings. Save on select chests all throughout the week. You don't have to hit the gym to get the chest of your dreams.
Did someone say Jim?
How can you not love this guy? Visit us in the realm and save big on the crystals. Get the bomb rolling on the best deals around. Ha ha ha!
We had it all, now I'm broken and scarred, and I'm scared of it all, no joking. Oh, no joking. Oh, I thought that we had it all, now I'm broken and scarred, and I'm scared of it all. Oh, no joking. What do you really know about love? It's doing more discovering hurt us. Don't really have a choice but try on. We all